I'm going to do my third scene from PK. As silly as the movie is, it actually has some deep concepts that I think are pertinent to the struggle between a very modern, forward-thinking population and a population that is still reckoning with some things that have happened in the past. It turns out that our heroine, Jagu, she falls in love with a man, Sarfaraz, who is Pakistani. And immediately Jagu knows that her family will not approve. I think it goes beyond the idea that he is Muslim, which surely he is, because a good portion of Pakistan, 95 to 98% of the people in Pakistan are Muslim. So without going into all the details behind it, because I would hate to say anything wrong, the partition occurred in 1947 when India was still under British rule. It used to be that India was a very large country, which still is a very large country, but it used to be even larger, and it included, among other things, all of what today is known as Pakistan. In 1947, they basically took all the people who were not Muslim and brought them into what is today India. And they brought many, many, many people who were Muslims and brought them out of India, so that now there was this partition. So today we have Pakistan, which is almost entirely Muslim, and we have India, which is majority Hindu. The Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 that happened in about October of 2019 meant that when we came late in 2019, we were a little bit worried about the protests that were going to be happening. And in fact, we saw some protests that were actually in favor of the CAA. And we saw discussions and we participated in discussions with people who, I don't know how else to say it, they basically had strong anti-Muslim sentiment. And there was no doubt in their mind that the Citizenship Amendment Act was the way to go. All this to say that when in the movie, which was made in 2014 or 2015, when the movie PK was made, obviously that was only 6-7 years ago, and so there was always this brewing hostility between Indian people and Pakistani people, possibly because the majority of people who live there practice Islam, possibly because of the partition. You know, many of the people who live in India are still old enough to have remembered it actually happening. There were hundreds of thousands of people who died as a result of this situation. And a lot of that sentiment has been passed on to younger generations, but certainly people who are older would not be happy about, for example, their daughter falling in love with a Pakistani man. Jagu certainly is an independent woman. She is a modern woman. She has a career. She has an apartment of her own. She has a short haircut. She wears shorts. She actually proposes marriage to this man, which is what this scene is going to be about. She proposes marriage to Sarfaraz. She's actually very close with her father, so it's hard for her to admit to him that, yes, I've fallen in love with a Pakistani man and I want to marry him. Her father assures her that this Pakistani man is going to betray her. And that actually seems to be his primary issue, is that he thinks that this Pakistani man must be a liar and that he will betray her. So I don't know exactly what it is. If it's just the love of the overprotectiveness of a father for his daughter, or whether he is Muslim, or whether he is Pakistani. It's actually not easy to figure out exactly what the prejudice is against Sarfaraz coming from her family. But spoiler alert, it all ends up fine, but it takes a long time. Jagu is sitting on a bench. She has just finished talking to her father. She closes her laptop and she's stewing because her father and this kind of unusual religious character that they all follow, named Mr. Tapasviji, he has advised her to break it off. And just at that moment, Sarfaraz comes up, sits on the bench next to her and says, "Hello." And this is where it starts. So Sarfaraz says, Kya hua? Jagu says, do you love me? In English. And Sarfaraz answers back, of course I do, in English. He says, of course I do. Kyum? And Jagu says, Shadi guru burits. Sarfaraz is taken aback. He says, hello, but hua kya? And Jagu says, Han yana, Sarfaraz. She's irritated. And Sarfaraz says, Han parantu. And Jagu, who is still irritated, says, Kal. And Sarfaraz says, Kal? And Jagu says, Kalam shadi karenge. Tapasviji ki bave shiavani galate. I'll prove it, she finishes in English. One of the things I'm trying to sort out is when it is that you switch into English and when you continue speaking Hindi. I'm not sure there's a rhyme or reason to it. I'm not sure.